One of the things that my most successful clients do is make themselves an expert or authority in their markets. What do we mean by authority? Well, consumers prefer to do business with people and companies they've heard of before. So it's important to get your name out there and to expose your company to as many consumers as possible. The more they see you and hear about you, the more they'll recognize you as one of the leaders in your industry. And consumers love doing business with leaders as long as, the price is competitive. But often an authority can get away with higher prices just by virtue of their status as the place to go for a particular service. And this is an incredible envious position to be in. Companies that are positioned as authorities are also sought out specifically in the marketplace. So, for example, instead of searching Google for, say, pest control companies in Scottsdale, which will render a whole list of names, of which you may or may not be one of them, a consumer might instead just type the name of a pest control company they already know. This will render a list of results as well, but all for the same company, hopefully yours. Being an authority in your market makes you an obvious choice for consumers, or at worst, the clear leader in their decision-making process. All my clients work toward becoming the leader in their respective markets. In fact, making them the authority is part of my own unique selling proposition and a primary objective. It would be stating the obvious to say that authorities capture the largest share of the market, but we have some clients that we estimate receive more than 50% of total market share, leaving the other 50% for all their competitors to split up. Becoming the authority is clearly something that industry leaders take very seriously and spend a lot of resources on. So how do you become the authority? Well, you become the authority in the minds of consumers when you are seen everywhere. If you have a big enough budget, television ads, radio spots, and consistently buying prominent real estate in the local newspaper will usually do the trick. But most small business owners don't have that kind of budget. So maybe a better question is, how can you become the authority on a tight budget? The best way I've found to do this is to become the virtual authority. We know that most consumers search online for local business services before they purchase. Even when they do see television and newspaper ads, they often return to the internet for more information. If you can position yourself prominently here, then you can make yourself the authority. If you do have the budget for media buys, then be sure to use some of that money to hire a consultant. You want ads that will have the highest conversion rates, and I've seen too many businesses try to write their own advertising and end up wasting a lot of money. The same goes for billboards and other forms of advertising. Really, the biggest bang for your buck is going to be with your digital marketing campaign. You can reach more targeted consumers using online media than you can with anything else. A good book to get you started is a book by Jim Lisinski of Google called Winning the Zero Moment of Truth. You can pick up a free copy at www.zeromomentoftruth.com. And rather than me explain ZMOT, take a look at this quick video.
Buying behavior has changed. In almost every category, consumers have many more choices than they've ever had before.
We used to have a website and felt like we were present. Now it's so important to create platforms where you can engage your consumers and exchange information.
In today's marketplace, you have to be out there on the internet. You have to be out there in the social media.
Our job, if we're going to get closer to our customers, is to be there when they're looking for things about our company.
The process of meeting those shopper needs begins at the zero moment of truth.
Have you been in a store and seen a buyer with a smartphone taking a picture of a product to learn more about that product, to read a rating or a review while standing in the aisle? These are all zero moments of truth.
That consumers going in every day and typing into browsers, they're actually actively sharing with you.
As we've connected people at the zero moment of truth, we are seeing people sign up and want to know more and be part of movements and communities.
It applies in a consumer and in a business-to-business context.
If we hadn't embraced ZMOT, we would not exist today as a business.
Zero moment of truth defines not only what the shopper is doing, but the future of marketing.
Ask yourself, who on my team has as his or her primary job helping us win the zero moment of truth.
So this video is saying to be present and engage consumers online. I'm saying all that is important, but the top companies also set themselves apart by becoming the authority online as well. To do that effectively, you need to have a solid brand. A brand is your identity. It is what you want consumers to think of when they see or hear your name. For example, where is the happiest place on earth? If you have kids, I'm sure you know that it's Disneyland, right? Even if you don't have kids, most of you will recognize the Disney brand when you see it anyway. And let me ask you this. Are you in good hands? If so, then you probably have Allstate insurance. Coca-Cola is the real thing. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. But a good brand is more than a recognizable slogan. It's a mental picture of your product or service. It conjures a specific image in the minds of consumers. For example, most people wouldn't know a Ferrari from any other high-end sports car on the street when they saw one. But when you mention Ferrari, people instantly get a mental picture of a red, sleek, fast Italian sports car with such high quality that only the rich can afford it. That's good branding. And that's an image of a Lamborghini, by the way. This is a Ferrari. Okay. Your brand should come directly from your unique selling proposition. Your USP is the reason why consumers use you over your competitors. It's not because you're the best, the fastest, or the cheapest. Best and fastest is not measurable, and cheapest is not even considered a marketing strategy. You'll never grow by offering the cheapest service. In fact, a brand is stronger if consumers are willing to pay a higher price to get what you have. So ask yourself, what do you offer consumers that they can't get with any other company in your market? That's your USP. The manifestation of your USP is your brand. So if people use you, for example, because they know it's going to get done right the first time or the service is free, then branding is the process of promoting that message to consumers, right? Once you've established your brand, then you want to promote it across the web. Now, I don't want to get too deep into search engine optimization and digital marketing because it's way too much involved to cover here. I'd have to charge you 10 grand for a 10-week course to teach you everything you need to know about SEO. Instead, I'll go over the major points, and for anything you don't understand, you'll just have to get your own digital marketing consultant to help you out, and which shouldn't be a problem because there are some really good places you can go to for help with all this stuff. One of my favorites is Odesk. Here's my affiliate link for it in case you want to check it out. I use Odesk all the time to hire virtual assistants and workers for all sorts of things. It's a great place to find someone to help you with your website or any of the technical stuff when it comes to SEO. You can also go to my website at www.gruntboss.com/partners and fill out the web form on that page. We're not currently taking new business at this time, but I'd be happy to refer you to any of our partner consultants. All right, to promote your brand then, your website is clearly a good place to start. Search engine optimization is generally thought of as the practice of getting your website to show prominently within search results. When I promote a website, I think of two things: traffic and conversions. You want to drive traffic to your website by getting it to show well within search results. Then you want to convert those visitors into paying customers. All right, so first, traffic. If you're a consumer in LA and lock your keys in the car after visiting the Santa Monica Promenade, you're going to go to the internet on your mobile phone and search for locksmiths in LA or locksmiths in Santa Monica. A locksmith who has branded himself well will likely show at the top of search results and will get the call. And likewise, a plumber, divorce attorney, dentist, or landscaper, they'll all want to do the same for consumer searches related to their niche. So how do we show up at the top of search results? There are thousands of digital marketing consultants out there who are trying to answer this question. Think of the internet as a popularity contest. If the search engines think that your site is popular, then they're more likely to improve your visibility to allow more consumers to find you. All right, it's a pretty simple concept. Getting a lot of visits to your site is a clear sign of popularity, but so are links. If another website links to yours, that link becomes a path for consumers to find you. It tells the search engines that another site deemed yours important enough to direct its visitors to. So, for example, if the New York Times website linked to your website, then it tells Google that if your site is important enough for the New York Times to send its readers to, then your site must be pretty important and that other consumers, possibly those who don't read the New York Times, will want to visit it as well. Therefore, Google is going to improve your visibility by moving you closer to the top of search results. Do you see how you become an authority by having other authoritative websites linking to yours? The best links are those of other authoritative sites, especially if they're in your niche and in your community if you have a business that sells locally. Try to get as many of these kinds of links directed to your website as you can. So, visitors and links are important factors in the visibility of your website within search. But so is social media. There are so many people using social media these days that shares, likes, comments, tweets, pins, pluses, and all the rest will increasingly play a role on the authority search engines give to your website. But more importantly, social media is a great place to get the kind of exposure that will help make you the authority in your market. Be sure to remain active in social media and try to get others to share links to your website as well. All right, next, conversions. I often say that you can get all the traffic in the world to your site, but none of it does any good if you can't convert those visitors into paying customers. A digital marketing specialist can work on your website to construct it in a way that will entice consumers to take some sort of action, such as calling or emailing you to ask about service or to set up an appointment. They do that by knowing how consumers act on the web, where they go, what they do, what they click on, what pages they visit. A good conversion specialist can direct visitors to specific pages we call landing pages. Generally, you want each page of your website to have a strong, compelling title and a call to action. You want to make sure you answer all the questions a consumer will have that will enable them to take the next step. What is it that they typically want to find out by visiting your site? Do you have an instant chat or a customer service feature? Do you have your telephone number prominently displayed on every page? Do your pages flow and read easily, or are they full of a bunch of confusing text that consumers will likely skip over? Is it interactive and engaging? Are its features and colors soft and easy on the eye? Do you give the visitor a compelling reason to contact you? Do a search yourself and check out your competitors' websites. If you were a consumer, which company would you choose? What is it about that web page that is compelling to you? Don't be afraid to steal ideas from your competition. It's all there for everyone to see, so, have at it. All right? Okay, now, one of the biggest mistakes digital marketing consultants make these days is limiting their work to your website. How many times have you seen advertisements or promotions promising to get your website on the first page of Google, blah, 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 blah. I hate that. It's so limiting. You can't become the authority in your market with just your website, even if it ranks at the top of search. There is so much more out there that you can take advantage of. I want to show you an example of what I mean. And for those of you who have been in my webinars before, you may recognize all this because I've used this example before. So let's head on over to Google and have a quick look. So here we are in Google. Now, I like using this example because these companies really understand how to position themselves as the authority in their market. So now if I'm a consumer either living or visiting Portland, Oregon, for example, and I want to find a good espresso bar, what am I going to type into the search engines? Probably phrases such as espresso bars in Portland or Portland espresso bars or espresso bar Portland. Let's give that a try. Now, this is a real-time search, so I hope this works. All right, now you might not have this carousel. This is relatively new. You might not have this if you search for your competitors or search in your market. Okay, you may or may not have it. Now, what's the thing that really jumps out to you here? If you look at the first page of search results for Espresso Bar Portland, the first thing that jumps out at me is that there's pretty much two businesses to choose from. Right? There's Lotus and Bean Espresso Bar, and there's Marco's Cafe. These companies are not just promoting their websites, they're promoting other pages as well. Believe me, these businesses actively worked on all these listings to get this kind of visibility. It didn't happen just by itself. Look at Lotus. These guys are mentioned, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times on the first page of search. And this is a pretty competitive keyword search term too. They've got They've got their Yelp listing at the top. So does Marco's. They've got Urban Spoon, NW Coffee Jobs, whatever that is. They got their Foursquare listing, downtown Portland. That's probably a local directory. They've got their Facebook fan page. Now I know that Marco's used to be dominant on this page, but they're only there 3 times, I think, in 3 places: Yelp, their website, and their Urban Spoon listing. I think Lotus saw what Marco's was doing and just beat them at their own game. Now, if they're smart, these guys would brand themselves by having a consistent message on all these different properties. Of all the espresso bars in Portland, Oregon, which ones do you think are the authorities in their market? It's simple, right? To anyone searching the internet for espresso bars in Portland, it's Lotus and Marco's for sure. How much more business could you get if you were positioned as the virtual authority in your market, just like these companies, especially Lotus? You can optimize your profile page in Yelp, City Search. You can optimize your listing in Yahoo Local and in Super Pages and Merchant Circle and any other website that you have a profile in. Just the same way you optimize your website with, backlinks and, visits and social media. Your Facebook fan page is also optimizable as well. But here's a tip. I would focus on the profiles that show these gold stars. See how Yelp's got these gold stars and Urban Spoon's got them. Foursquare, I think City Search has got them as well. Merchant Circle, Insider Page. Merchant Circle, I don't know that they show gold stars in search. But find your listing within directories and web platforms such as Yelp that show the gold stars in search results. If you're a consumer and you see a listing with a 5-star rating right in search results, how powerful is that in your decision to select that company? Again, it goes toward building your authority. All right, so let's head back over to the PowerPoint. All right, so here we are. And speaking of reviews, managing your reputation online is more important today than it's ever been, especially for a business that's trying to build its authority. You must be tracking the reviews consumers are leaving for you. Most of these sites will allow you to respond to reviews, which you absolutely must do, especially if you get one that's negative. Just make sure you respond professionally and politely. All right, you should probably even kiss a little butt if you have to. Lashing out and berating a reviewer because they wrote something about you that you didn't like, it's a very bad idea. You can't win that battle. You need to use the response feature in review sites to let other visitors know how much you care about their business. All right, so here's another ZMUT video about ratings and reviews.
At Google, we've seen searches for ratings and reviews around consumer products growing over the past 2 years. So this is a trend that's here to stay, and it's one that as a marketer, you need to pay attention to.
Bazaar Voice is responsible for most of the reviews you see online, such as if you're booking a restaurant at OpenTable or you're shopping at Walmart.com. Those reviews written by customers on those websites are actually powered by us. To a brand manager that's afraid to embrace online reviews, I would say, don't you think customers have always been talking to each other? Don't you think that's already reflected in your sales trends? Why would you not want to know? LL Bean has a sweater which was receiving all 5-star reviews. Well, the beautiful thing about a 5-star review is it usually has a suggestion for improvement. And in this case, customers kept on suggesting one of 3 additional colors. So LL Bean launched those 3 additional colors, and they literally doubled their sales of that sweater. 80% of reviews that we collect worldwide are 4 or 5 star. The number one reason people write content is altruism. They actually care about the impact that they're having. That's in the fabric of our being.
There's been a general belief that people are more likely to talk about negative experiences than positive experiences. And there's been some interesting recent research that sort of shows the opposite, that people are much more willing to talk about good experiences and favorable things than they are to talk about negative experiences. People like sharing good news.
Responding to negative criticism is one of the most misunderstood things. There are brands that will say, we're not going to put user reviews on our website because what if like the few reviews say really bad things? Negative criticism can be a great way to engage the community. And then the great thing is if you are there first, you get a shot at responding to that discussion, and with your own tone and texture and context and other things that adds value to the discussion. And just you being there can be such a powerful way for people to connect with your brand. If only more brands understood this, they would realize that the real power of this to drive long-term brand engagement for any company.
Lots of reviews will absolutely help you gain authority in your market. Just remember, consumers know you can't please all customers all the time. A negative review once in a while is not a bad thing, especially if you are apologetic and gracious in your response. That can actually get you more business because other consumers reading your response will be impressed that you're reaching out and making an effort. You show that you care. Here's an example of a good response to a bad review that I pulled out of Yelp. Notice how the response takes responsibility for the action and apologizes for it. And then he takes it one step further and gives a solution. Even though he received a bad review in Yelp, he'll get more business from this because this is exactly what consumers want to read. Not a bunch of fluff. It's genuine and caring. Now, just don't get too many bad reviews. Too many will hurt your reputation and certainly your authority. As important as your online marketing is, there are some things you can do to improve your authority offline as well. Let me share one of my favorites. And I have done this in several different industries, and it works like a charm. It just takes a little time to nurture. Your local media are always looking for experts and authorities in particular areas. I like to contact local reporters and news producers and let them know that my client is a local expert and available for interviews on subjects relating to their field. So, for example, I have a client who is a mortgage broker, and a few years ago, when property values plummeted and the mortgage crisis threatened the global economy, I reached out to all the local media to let them know my client was a local authority on mortgages and real estate, and that he was available for interviews, quotes, and can serve as a local expert if needed. I even gave them some story suggestions that related to current events. My client was interviewed repeatedly and appeared on many San Diego news shows. Not only did he get a whole lot of new customer calls from the interviews, but he also got a link back to his website from those news agencies. Start by collecting the email addresses of your local news anchors, your reporters and producers. Send them a short introduction, a brief bio, and the purpose for you contacting them. Now, there's a big chance that your email will get ignored, so you have to be pretty persistent. I would do it once a week until you get a response. Keep an eye out for breaking news as well. If you check the news on your computer in the morning and there is something that you can relate to, I would send an email and make a physical call to some of the top reporters. Ask for them by name. Sometimes you'll get through and sometimes you won't. But in breaking news situations, Reporters will appreciate that you reached out. You're making their job easier by coming to them rather than them having to hunt down an expert to interview. By hitting them up early in the day, they'll have time to come out and interview you for the evening news. I've actually been asked to come in immediately after calling a reporter to have them interview me in the studio. All right, so be persistent and get enough of these under your belt, and you'll become the go-to guy or the go-to gal for future interviews. All right, and then the next step will be to get your own regular segment on local news, and then you'll be syndicated, and the whole thing gets crazy. All right, so you do all these things to build your credibility and authority within your community. If you need help with it, be sure to hire a digital marketing consultant, social media manager, or a reputation management consultant on Odesk. They exist, and there's a whole bunch of them out there for all different prices. Okay? You can get some workers on Odesk pretty cheaply, so definitely check it out. With a strong brand, heavy online presence, and free media attention, you'll have all the tools you need to separate yourself from the rest of the pack.